I was 306 pounds, 48-inch waist. I used to sit down, I could feel my fat crushing my lungs. For whatever reason, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't shop at normal people clothing stores.
Making the one decision to show up for yourself and then continuing to just make that one decision over and over again is like the big secret, right? And how simple of a thing it really is if you boil it down.
Well, maybe this is something I should explore. Like what could be the harm if I go down this road? I probably got like 3 to 5 hours of sleep for arguably 10 years. It was a long time. It wasn't until I had my kid, I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
We haven't really gotten the chance to speak. I know we met very briefly at that SEO Rockstars event, which was awesome, by the way. But in that brief time that we met in person, I got this like deep sense of your passion for optimizing life, not just like optimizing in the business world to like show up well for keyword rankings, but just in terms of like the passion that you put into your physical health and like showing up for yourself. So I thought it would be an awesome place to start and just kind of understand like the history behind why that's so important to you.
Sure. Yeah, man, that's a lot. I guess there's a lot of reasons. Why do I want to be healthy? I guess it's hard to say in one sentence. So I used to be really overweight. That's kind of my why. I was 306 pounds, 48-inch waist. I used to sit down, I could feel my fat crushing my lungs, and I'd like slouch a little and I'd be like, take a deep breath. And so I kind of got tired of being the fat guy. And that moment occurred when I was waiting tables at a fine dining restaurant. And I went to go buy a new pair of pants at Banana Republic. And I walked in there back to the clearance rack. I was 20-ish years old. And when I went to the clearance rack, I found the pair of size, I believe it was like 44-inch pants. And I said, hey, you guys have 46. I went to the front, kind of held it up saying, hey, you guys have like a bigger pair, like a 46 or a 48. And they're like, we didn't even know we carried 44. You need to go to big and tall. And I don't know, like for whatever reason, I didn't really have too many insecurities about being overweight or the fat guy until that moment. For whatever reason, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't shop at normal people clothing stores. And so that kind of stuck with me, went into work. I was really good friends with the restaurant owner, kind of told that story, and I couldn't get out of my head. And whatever reason, that moment hit me harder than any other moment of I guess, being made fun of being the fat Asian guy. So after that, we went out to a bar actually called The Bottom Line. And I sat there and I was just kind of like, man, I can't believe I can't like shop at like normal clothing stores. I couldn't get that out of my head. And pretty much drunk at this point, it's like midnight. And my friend that I was with was like, you want to go walk? Like, right. I'm like, right now? Like, yeah, right now. So we started walking around the block at midnight. And I just walk in. It's hot in New Orleans. And I woke up a little bit hungover. And I joined the Jewish Community Center. And it was like a Forrest Gump moment, walking. And I just kept on walking, and walking turned into running. And I just kept on running. And then I'm like, what's weight training? And then I got into weight training. And then I got into, signed up for like adventure racing and obstacle racing. And then I signed up for this place called Velocity Sports Performance, where they trained you like an athlete. And then I got into CrossFit, and then it just kind of expanded, and I realized it at another level. And there was a lot of, moments in between that moment and now that I feel like helped accelerate things. One of them would be my wife. My wife is a super fit person. She makes, it's contagious, like being around people like that are fit, that are smarter, that whatever it is. And she's one of those people where she's a top 100 professional CrossFit athlete in the world. She's ultra fit, shredded, 8-pack abs. She's just really strong, arguably pound for pound, strongest person in our gym. So she makes it easier because I eat whatever's in front of me, and there's always like another level to unlock. And she helps me achieve that next level of health and fitness. So that's my why. And then I had a kid. And then my kid, I don't want to be a burden to my child. Like when he comes to visit me, I don't want it to be to change my bedpans. I don't want to like disrupt his life in any way. And part of that is being healthy. Is when he comes to visit me, it's because he wants to see me, he wants to hang out, or we go throw the football, or whatever it is. We go do things together. So I guess there's a lot of whys that have kind of expanded. That was my long-winded response of why healthy. And there's more than that, right? I mean, entrepreneur, healthy mind, stronger body, stronger mind. It helps you be a better entrepreneur, a better dad, a better husband, a better friend. just the domino effect. So there's a multitude of reasons why, but those are a handful of them.
Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's a awesome story and reminds me, I haven't thought about this in a long time, but there was a period in time in my life where I had to shop at that big and tall store. And I didn't have that same like reaction to, holy crap, I have to go. For some reason, like for me, my dad had always shopped there. So that was normal for me, right? And growing up as a kid, you kind of followed in your dad's footsteps. And I do remember vividly, though, the day that I was able to not shop there and was able to go to a regular person's store to just buy clothes. And it was like, holy crap, I'm not limited to just this. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. So interesting you brought that up. But, you do bring up, kind of a lot of good points there. And like realizing the domino effect of all that, which I don't think we think about in the moment, that like kind of the reverse of that. Feeling like, when you wake up every day and you just are who you are, you don't think about all the things that could be better. You just think, hey, this is my life. All of these things are kind of a consequence of that until you look back at them and realize like once you made that one decision to go for a walk and then you made another decision to do it again the next day, whatever the sequence was there. But like looking back on it, you realize, holy crap, all the things that changed. And I'm assuming in that time you started your own business as well. That was, I assume, after the restaurant.
Yep.
Looking at all of that stuff and how it compounds from making that simple decision, I think is a really important lesson people should take. I know it's really simple, but literally making the one decision to show up for yourself and then continuing to just make that one decision over and over again is like the big secret, right? And how simple of a thing it really is if you boil it down.
Yeah. I feel like it was definitely that. It was kind of exercising discipline, and that like there's so much discipline needed in so many areas of life. And I felt like that helped me because I started this career I have now at age 20. I'm 46. So I've never really worked for anyone besides waiting tables. And I think that, that exercise of discipline in physically helped me mentally. And that's just going to bleed into entrepreneurship, is just showing up every day.
Yeah. So take me through a little bit professionally. What is it exactly you do?
I guess I'm a digital marketer, a growth solutionist. I don't know what my label is. It kind of depends on which company. So I'm a partner at SEO Rockstars. It's one of our latest, acquisitions. I have a agency, Infintech Designs, full stack digital marketing agency. So I've been doing SEO full time since 2000, and that's kind of evolved into this agency in 2008. I had a diet pill company in 03, 04, 05. I had 2 diet pill companies. This agency was born in 2008. I have a construction company. I'm a partner in Turnkey Renovators. I have a mortgage company that I'm partners in, Sprint Funding. I have an AI automation company I'm partners in called Flowbots. We automate anything where a human touches a keyboard or phone. I am partners on a SaaS with Andrew Ansley called Thorbit. I have another data company called Big Easy Data, AI. And I kind of a handful. I'm one of the partners over at Stealth Code. We have the SEO Neo, Omega Indexer, and Colinkery Link Crawler. So I guess there's kind of a portfolio of companies. And I was telling this story, I don't know, about a week or two ago, like, wow, you do a lot of things. Like, yeah, I guess I didn't really think about it, but actually I'm kind of doing the same thing. It sounds like I'm doing a lot of different things, but I'm kind of just doing the same thing and I'm getting leveraged. And I'm not exactly clear. I'm a dot connector. I guess I'm a marketer. I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm leveraged by time with my team. We have a team of 40. And so I feel like my thing is I guess I'm a growth marketer. I don't know. I don't know what my label is or what my title is. And I don't know how I've been fortunate to have all these opportunities, but my time and day is relatively the same thing for the most part.
Yeah. What I'm hearing from you, first of all, that's a ridiculously long list of things. I appreciate it and understand it as someone who is spread in multiple different areas. I appreciate that. And what I'm hearing you say a little bit is kind of like this systems and processes where you take something that should be complicated and break it down to its simplest form so that you can scale it out. And that may be a projection, but kind of what I'm hearing from you is like, hey, how do I take this super complicated thing, break it down to its simplest form, and then delegate it so that you don't have to be the one to hold its hand the entire time? And, at least that's the approach that I take. And it sounds like we're kind of on that same wavelength. it's really the only way that you can effectively show up in all those places at the same time is like, look at the situation, understand, hey, if I'm going to run a construction company or a mortgage company or whatever it is, how can I take a complicated process and remove myself from it so that it can continue to function without me touching every single part of it? Does that sort of
Yeah.
align?
Yeah, definitely. Kind of idea, the genesis of this idea, I think, was planted in my head when I worked at fine dining and worked at restaurants, which is arguably the only other kind of job I ever had. And you start noticing that they use the same ingredients for different dishes. And it's like, how many different dishes can you make with the same ingredients, the same resources? And I think I'm doing the same thing, is how many different revenue streams, how many different my joke is I have a construction company, but I don't own a hammer. I'm not a handy guy. But I'm leveraged. I find an operator, and my ingredients that I contribute are the same across pretty much all those brands.
I love that. That's a great analogy. And it's really true when you think about it, especially in the restaurant portion. I think if you look at the preparation part, which a lot of people don't see, you often think about, hey, how are you able to make so many dishes and how can you make them all at the same time and have them come out in 10 minutes? I think there's that aspect of the prep work that most people don't pay attention to. You know, you're cutting up your vegetables, you're par cooking your meats, you're doing whatever this stuff is ahead of time. So you're able to just execute on command and kind of building these systems behind the scenes. I think a lot of that takes that same level of discipline to understand, hey, when we are going to show up in this manner, we have to be prepared so we can just execute, right? And I think that's where you kind of tie the discipline with the systems together so that it's not, hey, I have to cook from scratch and it's going to take me 45 minutes to make your dinner like you would at home. You're able to kind of just execute much faster.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this was accumulation of 10 years of pulling all-nighters. You know, I had a very different sleep pattern in my earlier years. I used to watch the sunrise almost every single day. I don't do it anymore because I had a 5-year-old, but there was a lot of prep work to get to this point.
Yeah. So on the sleep aspect of things, because like if we're going to look at, I know this conversation is taking a lot of twists and turns, but I love that part of these conversations. If you look at the sleep aspect, because I think a lot of people in this phase where they're like, hey, I've got all these awesome opportunities, I want to get all this stuff done, you kind of default into that hustle and grind mode where you're just going to pull those all-nighters and sleep eventually. I want to ask you from your perspective as someone who's like passionate about the health side of things as well, your standpoint on sleep as one of, if not the most important contribution in overall health.
Yeah, arguably the biggest and greatest biohack you can do is sleep better. And I learned that much later, where I would try to overcompensate the lack of sleep just by, I can go to the gym, or, you know, I guess I would try to take naps during the day, which I'm not a good napper. But I would try to outwork my bad sleep in the gym or with supplements, taking a pill to either give me energy or counteract any of the negative consequences of sleep, for whether it's cognitive clarity or energy systems or blood, whatever it is. You know, I still take up. My wife makes fun of me. I have very expensive pee. I'm kind of my own guinea pig, trying this, trying that. But I've learned over time, like, just get good sleep. And so now I have like I probably got like 3 to 5 hours of sleep for arguably 10 years. It was a long time. Still hitting the gym and still exercising, but realizing it wasn't until I had my kid, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And a little bit before that, but it was like the pandemic. I'm like, I can't just stay up till 3, 4, 5, 6 a.m. Every single night. So I kind of systemized, and having a kid makes you more aware, and it makes you more mindful of your time, and it forces you to be even more systemized and unlock that next level of efficiency. So the kid was definitely a blessing to force me to, I need to get better in more areas of life. I need to get better physically. I need to get better mentally. And kind of the most recent thing I'm trying to get better in is spiritually.
I love that. What's the kind of emphasis there? Like, what started that interest?
Of spiritually, my son. Started going to church for my son because I'm like, I want him to be a better kid. I want him to learn values. And I guess going through that process, I realized, oh, I could use this too. So I kind of did it for my kid, realizing I need this just as much, if not more than my kid.
I love that. I mean, there's two directions we can go with that. One, I think just on the surface, is that I appreciate your willingness to go first for your son, and just, show up exactly like, hey, not do as I say, but do as I do, right? And just to model the example behavior that you want them to follow. Because I'm a big believer that more is caught than taught. And I think it's really easy for us as parents to say, hey, you should go do that, or you should do this, or it's easy for us to like look at their behavior and yell at them or say, hey, why did you do that? We don't apply that same pressure to ourselves and say, hey, why am I not continuing to learn and to sharpen my skills and to be better? So just honor to you for doing that. I think we'd be in a lot better spot if more people took that level of accountability with themselves. And I think that kind of the second part there is really this understanding that like, if you're going to be the best version of yourself, it has to be well-rounded. Right? It can't just be, hey, I'm awesome at business, but I have no spiritual health, right? Or I have no emotional or relational health. And obviously that's kind of my whole thing here is, right, how to accept no half cakes in any area of your life and to be the fullest version of all of them. So just I commend you for taking that step. I know it's scary, especially when you enter a new realm like that, to kind of feel like a beginner. And man, the church, unfortunately, and I don't know your personal experience, tends to have a lot of people who are going to take advantage of you. And that's a touchy subject, right? Because you don't want to speak ill of that realm. I mean, especially I'm sure from your time in marketing, how many people are looking to kind of sell you a bill of goods. And I think that's another area where you kind of approach. And there's a lot of people who are looking to say, hey, here's the answer. Let me kind of show you the answer key and I'll help guide you. But they unfortunately have maybe not as deep values as they let on the surface. Have you run into that at all?
Oh, absolutely. This has been a journey of, I guess, spiritual seeking or, whatever it's been. I grew up being forced to go to church. And I I think that's why maybe I stopped going to church for 30 plus years. Because I did the speaking in tongues as a kid. I did the like make people faint, the Benny Hinn's, making stadiums of people faint. And I'm the only person standing. I'm like, God, if you're real, you'll make me faint along with everyone else. And I'm like still standing. I'm like, okay, well, God isn't real. Like, what is this? So I feel like I went through a lot of versions of church, and it maybe put a bad taste in my mouth. But it wasn't until later I just felt this. Really, it happened through my wife. My wife has made me healthier. She's made me healthier spiritually as well as physically. So it was her I kind of spark that said, hey, there's this person at our gym. There's it's a startup church. Let's go check it out. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, you know what? It can't hurt to raise my kid in an environment like that. Let's go give it a try. And then going through this, I really like the church. I really like the people. I especially like the message. Then I liked the pastor. And then I started volunteering there. And I just felt better after going to church. And I said, well, let me go do it again. And I'm like, oh, I keep on feeling better. So let me keep on doing this.
Yeah, I love that. No, I'm happy for you because, it's unfortunate. There's a lot of people who experience that like church hurt, who kind of develop this understanding that like it's a bad place. And, I think I would encourage more people to have that personal relationship, right? Where it's not necessarily just religion, where you have to show up every Sunday, sit down and shut up and just, suffer through your 45 minutes until you get to go home for the week. But like understanding that personal one-on-one relationship with, hey, what does that really feel like? And having those conversations to be a little bit more intimate with yourself, with your relationship with God, and kind of understanding how that pours back into your life. And hey, if it doesn't in that scenario, then seek out one that does. So I think that that's awesome that you're continuing to pursue that. I'm curious from there, you've mentioned your wife a bunch of times as far as like her inspiration toward the health aspect, the faith aspect. What's your relationship like together? And you don't necessarily have to get into the nitty gritty details if you don't want, but like when it comes to being the best version of yourself, how does that show up as Brian as a husband?
I guess we've gone through all the seasons of life, and I'm trying to be a better husband. And I guess I'm learning what that means. And I think a better husband is redefined through the seasons we go through together. I've been knowing her since she was 23 years old. So how long has that been? 5? Yeah, 20 years. Wow, long time. I've been almost knowing her and dating her as long as the age she was when I met her, which is 23. So we're approaching 21 years. I think because of her, she shoots me straight, and I need that, right? She tells me the truth, and her interest is always in my best interests. So she helps me. I guess she checks me, and I need that. And she guides me, and she inspires me. Whether it's being a better husband, and I think part of that is being healthy, just mental resilience, and with that comes just eating right and exercising and sleeping better. I mean, you might see her pop up behind me. Like I live in front of my computer, and you might see like a plate slide in front of me or a smoothie. She brings me a coffee. She takes care of me. And so we have a good kind of teamwork effort in doing this. And so I'm just very appreciative that she allows me to help be the best version of myself and be better than yesterday. And it's a lot of that kind of silent work she does, where it's little things like bring me a coffee. She just saved me 10 minutes. Like I literally live in front of this Zoom camera. I'm doing 8 to 10 Zoom meetings a day. And it's like a slide of a coffee. She brings me a snack. She brings me a yogurt. She'll bring me my supplements. She brings me my Chinese herbal medicines. She makes sure I go work out. She's like, hey, try to get some good sleep. So she helps me become a better husband. All those things contribute to being a better husband, a better father, and hopefully a better leader of this household.
Yeah, I love that. I'm hearing a lot of selflessness in this house, right? Whether it comes to you and your wife, as far as like pouring into the team. So, both of you are like really looking to honor the other person and help set them up for as much success as possible. And I think that that's awesome. To me, like that's what relationships are supposed to be, where each person is so dedicated to the other person's success. It's kind of the type of teamwork that's impossible to break, right? Once you get to that point where you have this open level of respect and admiration for each other, and you're not worrying about like, hey, what's in it for me? I think that's where the most teams succeed. And I think that same thing could be true for business as is in personal relationships. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not keeping score. There's no like, I did this for you, you did this for me. It's like, let's just keep on helping each other out as much as possible. And I think that definitely bleeds over to the team. I attribute a lot of my success to my kind of core leadership team that I've had in my agency, and the partners I've made to get leverage, whether it's a construction company, the SaaS, or the AI. We have this camaraderie and this trust between each other where we can count on each other, and we don't have to micromanage. We just know we're going to give our best effort, and it's going to help us as a unit.
I love that. So in your perspective, where does the culture layer fit in that? And more specifically, my question is about giving grace versus holding the standard, right? Because if we're looking at discipline as a core value, and it's pretty evident that discipline is a core value in your house, in order to give grace to someone, to see like, hey, to call them up to be their best version of themselves, and understand like, hey, right now this person is dealing with something, they're not being their best, right? And I get that, and everyone's going to have their situation. But like, how do you juggle giving someone grace between holding them up to the standard?
Yeah, I try to avoid telling you all the things you do wrong. I'd rather help you achieve a path of doing all the things right. And so whether it's me or whether it's another person, and there's a point of abuse that I've experienced where, we got to let people go. But it's doing my best to show them instead of tell them, and try to surround themselves around the right people to set them up for success, whether it's access, resources, education, tools. We have split teams. If we see a team maybe not performing as well in a certain department, we'll bring a team leader in another department and bring them in. If it still hits a problem, then there may be an escalation to another team leader and maybe an eventual escalation to me. But doing our best to set them up and give them all the tools and access to perform their job to the highest level. And, I don't expect perfection, but I want you to be better than yesterday, or strive to be better than yesterday. It's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are good, right? It's kind of what the Facebook motto, break things fast. Like we want to make mistakes because we're getting closer to doing things right. So I'm patient with that. But if it's like the same mistake over and over, I start to lose patience. Then there's a problem either on my end of communication. I'm not giving the right tools of success. And maybe, so I'm not always thinking it's their fault. Maybe I need to do a better job. And I've experienced that with employees where instinctively I'm like, oh, this is a quote unquote bad employee. I'm like, no, I'm a bad leader. Like I'm not extracting what I need out of them, and I'm putting them in a role that they may not perform well in. So it's a lot of that, of self-analysis. And now we've implemented different disc assessments, and sometimes there's personality clashes where someone can't perform well. So I'm trying to be mindful of all the factors besides just blaming the person, saying you're not showing up.
Mm. It's a great answer. I love that. I'm curious from your perspective, if I gave you an extra 6 hours a week, would you spend that 6 hours on improving your business or improving your health?
Health. Nothing matters if you're not healthy. Working hard, making money, building these things. My wife gave me this quote, and I don't remember it exactly, but it always sticks with me. It's along the lines of you could have like a million problems, but when you're unhealthy, you only have one problem. And so that like sticks in my head. So definitely health. If I had to choose, there's no point in a business if you're not healthy. And so health for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I knew your answer before you said it. It kind of reminds me of like, and I'll do my turn in not totally remembering a quote, but something along the lines of if you gave me 10 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend the first 9 sharpening my axe. And I feel like that's the perspective that people need to take to showing up in their own lives. Like it's very easy to say, hey, I want to do that same hustle and grind and grow the business. And especially in this age where you feel like there's overnight success happening faster than ever in the age of AI and everything, like becoming these quicker results, and you want to keep up with it and you want to have it be your turn to be successful and, reach your $1 million and get all this X, Y, and Z, until you realize, like you said, that, if you don't make time for your physical health is going to make time for itself. And like, that's a thing that you can't escape. So, I want that to be an exclamation mark on this conversation for people to understand, like, yes, it's awesome to have all of these things, to have, a list of businesses that are successful and the relationships and everything else. But it kind of starts with showing up for yourself, right? Making that decision to go for the walk, making that decision to, be the best version of yourself, and that intentional time you put in to kind of filling up your own cup first allows you to show up in all those other areas. And I feel like a lot of people miss that really simple part. And, maybe because it's too simple or it sounds too easy or, whatever the thing is, they don't see the results right away. But, I'd just love if you could speak a little bit on the importance of kind of pouring into showing up for yourself first.
Yeah, the ripple of good that comes out of being healthy is going to be way greater than the ripple of good that comes out of not being unhealthy. Like that domino effect is just, the ripples go on forever. Whether it's mentally, physically, discipline. I'm a creature of habit. I like routine and habit. To me, it's easier to know what's coming up next. Even like my t-shirts, you'll probably see me wear the same t-shirts every day. It's that old decision fatigue. Every Black Friday, I'll buy like 30 to 60 t-shirts and I'll just have them in rotations, a lot of them the same color. So I love habit, and I love it makes life more efficient. But I am, I'm always trying to unlock that next level. And this all feels like a process, not a destination. So be open-minded and be willing to learn. And I'd say the past maybe 2 years, I've kind of focused on an area that I don't feel like I ever felt like I needed: personal development, which I'm like, whatever, like, let me just muscle through it. And so I like joined EO, and that's kind of the spiritual journey. And I guess having a family made me more aware of that, well, maybe this is something I should explore. Like what could be the harm if I go down this road? So just trying to be a student of life and trying to always be better is the journey I'm on.
I love that. I love that. Well, I want to thank you for this conversation. It's been an honor, and we've covered a variety of topics, but I think, like I said, we could almost boil it down to the importance of kind of showing up for yourself first and taking those steps to really pour into, hey, who are you, knowing your authentic self, and kind of really living that core value aspect of life. And the benefits it pays off when you continue to do that compound over time, right? That discipline and consistency, and the results it shows. And I'm sure you can speak to that in health, in SEO terms, in relationships, like in literally every area you could probably point at. That discipline and consistency are probably the number one factors in doing better over time.
Yep. I can agree to that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, again, I love that. Any kind of parting thoughts, things we haven't covered yet?
One thought, so I follow you on Facebook, and I always see your like walking footsteps, and there's always a day count. I guess out of my curiosity, are you picking up trash? Like, are you going for a walk? What is it you're doing?
Yeah. So both, I'll explain that in full. Um, I've been doing it now. It's almost 900 days that I've been doing it consistently. It started in September of 24 with an idea. I saw it was, I forget the exact name of the charity now. It was Mission 22, right? Where they were like, let's do X amount of activity for, 22 days in order to raise awareness for veterans who are committing suicide. And it was like a random Facebook post. And I was like, yeah, I'll sign up for a virtual challenge. Why not? So I decided to just document my journey over the course of that month, right? I committed to going for a walk every day for the month of September. And I kind of just started documenting, showing up every day, doing it. And the first day I went for a walk by myself. The second day, my kids said, "Hey, Dad, can we come with you?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go for a walk." The third day, my entire family went, including the dog. My daughter took our bearded dragon in a stroller. Like literally everybody came with me. And then I was like, this is awesome. Like it's good family time. It's good to get outside the house. It's good for whatever. Like this is great. Let's continue doing it. And then it just got to be the thing where like I did it so consistently, I'm going to keep doing it. So now at this point, it's been nearly 900 days. I've done it every single day. I cannot tell you the number of awesome things that have happened because of that. Just some brief examples. I was walking down Main Street with my son one day. This is early on, maybe 2 months in. And I noticed him kick a can on the road, like a soda can that he just kicked while we were walking. And I felt this conviction to myself, like, man, that's the wrong thing to do. Like you see garbage on the street, instead of kicking it, why don't you pick it up? And then I realized that I didn't do that. I didn't pick up the trash that we walked past. So that started the process of bringing a garbage bag and like a picker with us. And then we started picking up whatever garbage we had. So we'd continue to walk around. And I think at this point, it's like 170 something bags of garbage collected. But that led to a community garbage pickup, where we organized a whole bunch of people in our community to go clean up a couple parking lots. It led to just, man, so many different things have happened because we decided to like just go for a walk. And we've done it on, I say we because at this point it's typically me and one or two kids or my wife or somebody. When I travel for business, a lot of times the people I'm with will come with me on the walk. So it'll just be like a thing to go on Jim's daily walk. But just the number of different lessons that have come out of that have been awesome.
That's awesome. It's I feel a common theme with like how much kids make you a better person, and it makes you a better person so you can make them a better person. Kids are such a blessing for sure. That's awesome.
Yes. It's a very interesting perspective to have. And I feel like it's sort of contrarian to most people's thinking, is to let your kids lead you. And I feel like not enough people do that. Like it sounds weird. Hey, you're supposed to be the adult and you're supposed to lead them and supposed to do X, Y, and Z. But if you shut up and listen, sometimes, like a lot of times they don't have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they understand right from wrong in a very different context, right? And they understand like, hey, this is what we should do. They don't have fear of rejection. They don't have all this other stuff that they're carrying around because they're still in that young innocent stage. And to be able to pay attention to them and learn from them, just by like, hey, what's the natural response? And just show up in different experiences. Like I can think of this one time, my son and I were walking, picking up garbage on the side of the road, and two people drove by and yelled out, "Garbage pickers." Man. And like my son looked at me like, what the heck? And I'm like, here we are going for a walk, getting exercise, cleaning up the neighborhood. Like if you're in a situation where you need to yell at me and my son, who was 10 years old, like because we are cleaning up garbage and look down on us or judge us. Okay, cool. Like, and that led to an awesome conversation I had with my son on the walk home. Like, yeah, you're going to get judged for stuff. And, just the way that he perceived that situation allowed for some awesome conversation. But again, it's that showing up aspect of it. And I don't mean to rant on this conversation, but I've spent enough time thinking about it. One of the things that I love so much about this daily exercise is that it's not measured in garbage bags, not measured in miles. I mean, yes, I keep track of it, but I don't mean like that's not the qualifier for it to have happened. So I don't leave the house saying, hey, I have to go hit a certain pace. I have to go hit a certain distance. I have to go do X amount of something. I just have to go. Like I have to show up, right? That's the measurement for success. Did you show up? And for me, it's like building that consistency muscle. And, I've now seen over the past 2 years how it's shown up in our kids. Like there's been times where, hey, it's downpouring outside. It's thunder outside. It's raining sideways. Like most people would say, maybe you should not go. We turned it into what my kids affectionately call a Peppa Pig walk, where they put on their rain boots and we intentionally go out and look for the biggest puddles. And like, to me, that's the lesson that you should be giving your kids. Like, because yes, it's stupid, simple. You're going to go out and walk in a rainstorm. And like, no, we're not doing anything dangerous. It's not lightning and we're standing in puddles of water. Okay. But the point is, like, in life, you're going to face adversity and like situations are not going to be favorable. Most of the time, you're going to say, hey, I committed to do X, Y, and Z. I committed to go for a walk, but now all of a sudden it's raining. Man, I'll push it off for later. No, I want them to see like, oh, it's raining. Cool. Let's dig in and do it anyway, right? Let's be the buffalo and walk into the storm. Let's do that stuff on purpose and with purpose. And I feel like if you don't show up first and do that and lead by example, it's really hard to be like, hey, when you get in this situation, you should do that. Because then, at a certain point, and my kids now are 12 and 9, they look at you and they're like, yeah, but you don't do that. Right. And as they continue to grow and see the difference between what you say and what you do, it becomes increasingly harder to have that conversation. Right. Because they're going to say, yeah, Dad, you tell me I should do X, Y, and Z. You tell me I should do my homework right after lunch, right after school. You should tell me I should eat good. You should tell me I should, go exercise every day, but I don't see you do it. So why should I? Right. And it kind of holds you accountable to that, which is uncomfortable. I think for a lot of people, it's really difficult to, commit to that because it means admitting sometimes you screw up, admitting sometimes you need to be a better version of yourself. And as adults, we don't want to do that, right? We don't want to say, hey, I need to be a better version of me, because you feel like, man, you got to 40 years old, your dad's not looking over your shoulder anymore. You could just be free and not be criticized and judged. But like, yeah, it might feel easy to take the pressure off yourself, but eventually that bill comes due and you realize like, yeah, you took the pressure off yourself and now what happened? Right now you're back in a size 48 pair of pants because you just let one day pass, one day at a time. Now it's been 6 months, 2 years, where now all of a sudden like things slipped. And it's reality. It happens to all of us. Like that's why, again, I think that's that daily consistency of showing up no matter what, no matter how far, no matter how you feel, doesn't matter if you, whatever. I've literally done laps in a hospital room before, but like you show up and you do what you can with what you have.
That's awesome. That's really great how such a simple activity has such a heavy, massive magnitude of awesome things that'll occur from that one little. I feel like I want to go take my kid on a walk every morning now. That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I love the intentionality of like little random things. You may have you ever seen me go through a Taco Bell drive-through? You've seen those pop up in a story?
No.
All right. Well, every Tuesday, at least most Tuesdays, probably 95% of them, you may see a post on my stories of a Taco Bell drive-through with a just an emoji on it, nothing crazy. And the reason behind that is also a very interesting story to me anyway. 4 years ago at this point, it's been a while, this one, our kids were hungry one day and they said, Dad, we're hungry. Can't you just pull into the drive-through and get some food? And I must have said something like, we can just eat when we get home. And I wanted to kind of teach them the privilege that we had to be able to drive in our car up to a box, request food, and then 30 seconds later, someone hands you a hot meal, right? And how not everyone gets that same privilege. And to me, like one of our family core values is if you have more than you need, you build a bigger table, not a taller fence, right? So it's understanding like, hey, if you're blessed in your life, if you have everything that you could possibly need and more, then go share that blessing with other people. Go be a blessing in other people's lives. So I decided, hey, we're going to do this new Taco Tuesday family tradition. There's a Taco Bell right up the block from us. Where every Tuesday, most of the time, we don't actually order anything from there. I'll literally drive through the drive-through and just order a water. but we'll pay for the car behind us. And it was a lesson that I wanted them to understand, like, hey, if you have that blessing in your life to be able to go do that, then share that blessing and pay it forward. And it's the simplest possible way to do it. Like literally pull through the drive-through, pay for some tacos. And the lessons that have come from that one too have been just crazy. Briefly, I will say, sometimes people have asked like, well, hey, maybe you'll get lucky and someone will have only ordered one taco and it'll be $1. And the conversation that has had after that is, man, maybe they only ordered one taco because that's all they could afford, right? Maybe that's all that they can afford that time. Not that they were just hungry for one taco, but they only ordered that one, right? And you showed up in that moment and you thought, hey, you're getting away with it. But what if what you actually did was give them that one little sign that, man, maybe miracles are possible. Maybe you will be provided for, right? So it's these awesome things. The other one, which I'd love to share is, early on in this process, my son had his friend in the car and we were driving through and we were on the way home from, I think, a lacrosse practice or something. And we stopped to get something to eat on the way home. And his friend said, hey, are we going to do that thing where you pay for the car behind you? And I laughed and said, yeah, we will. And then, later I was thinking about it and they were too young at that point to have their own social media. And I wondered like, and how did he even know about that? Right. So to me, it's someone's parent must have seen it and shared it with him. They're like, that's a thing that they do in the Sabelico house. Or my son maybe have told him. But either way, like these seemingly inconsequential things, I don't go and post it to brag about it. But it's just this little simple reminder that like, hey, if you have what you need, share it. And, I think it's important to understand that people are paying attention to that. Right. And again, such a simple act. But like you're setting the standard for how to treat people. You're setting the example for how to behave as a human, and people are watching. Like whether you realize it or not, people are paying attention to that. And if you normalize, hey, this is how we treat our neighbors, then that becomes normal, right? Your kids grow up in a world where, yes, you take care of the people around you. You don't judge, hey, the person in the car behind me, do they deserve it? No, I don't care. That's not my job to judge them. It's my job to take care of the people around me. Right? And that's what becomes normal in the house. But it starts with us showing up for ourselves and kind of just doing that right thing.
That's awesome. That's great. You're making the world a better place.
Thank you.
I appreciate and respect that.
The goal is, thank you. The goal is to just, again, to normalize that, because I feel like we don't do enough of that in society and culture. We tend to prioritize the wrong kind of success when it comes to like, hey, what kind of car do you drive? What does your house look like? When's the last time you went on a fancy vacation? But like gone is the day, and I don't mean to be like back in my day type of guy, but we don't really celebrate enough of how do we take care of each other, right? How do we do the right thing? That doesn't get promoted as well, right? It's not sexy. It doesn't get the likes, the clicks, the attention. But what happens is people don't see it enough, so it doesn't become normal. And I feel like, man, if I've been given the blessing of this opportunity to show up and just to steward this day the best I can, then I'm going to give that gift back to somebody else. And, again, I don't mean to continue to ramble on it, but the amount of lessons that have come from doing the simple things right and showing up for other people, and the blessings that they've given back to me have been tenfold, if not more.
That's really great. I love that. I want to nominate you for Human of the Day.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. But it's I appreciate that. And then again, man, while I appreciate the honor of that, and all jokes aside, I don't do it for that reason. I know it's like this really fine line to walk between sharing it to like pat myself in the back, or for people to see it as normal. And that's kind of the goal, is kind of for people to understand that, hey, it's possible to live that kind of life too, and still have all the fun stuff and still do the other stuff and like reap the rewards. But for the right reasons. So, I know it's weird to receive glory for that. And, I don't deserve it, right? It's I'm not doing anything miraculous. I'm literally going for a walk, picking up garbage and paying for tacos. But, I feel like if people could take one thing from that, it would be to just kind of show up in their own way and like, just do the simple things, right? That consistently to show up for yourself, to go for the walk, to take care of the person around you, to hold the door for somebody else. and like not look over the fact that that little thing could make a tremendous amount of difference in someone's life. Man, if we could all just do that consistently, things would change in a hurry.
Yep. Absolutely agree. That's great.
Good. Well, again, Brian, I want to thank you for this conversation and for asking those questions and, leading up to that conversation. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you sharing. I found it inspiring and a little bit contagious. So thank you very much for that.
Good, man. That's the goal. How can we kind of best support you from here?
I don't know. I guess check out flowbots.ai, check out thorbit.ai, bigazydata.ai, or come visit us at our next conference coming up in New Orleans for SEO Rockstars, rockstarsconference.com, or also
Good.
SEO
Awesome.
Neo. If you're an SEO person, then link building and through SEO Neo and indexation through Omega Indexer. I could keep on rambling. If I list every single brand, this thing will never end. But focus on those.
That's awesome. Again, man, honor to you, and I appreciate the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you too.